Clerk to my right, your left, Miss Murphy. Commissioner Duke is back there. If you have a cell phone or a pager, could you please put it on silent and vibrate, not to interrupt the meeting? If anyone's going to testify tonight, could you stand up and raise your right hand, please? You think you might testify. If you think you might testify, please take an oath. Stand up. If anyone's going to speak tonight, you have to take an oath or you can't speak. Rich.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes from October 9th.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Tonight, under old business, case number Z1847, Simmons Milk Street LLC for special permit variance to demolish the existing structure and erect 8 townhouse residences on the premises number 42 Mill Street. The applicant and the representative here.
Yes.
You have the floor. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Hassan Shulman. I reside right now at 78 Mount Ararat in Quincy, Massachusetts. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, member of the board, member of the zoning board. And on behalf of my partner Chris and my project team, I would like to thank you for your consideration for my application. I want to begin to let you know that the site that I'm proposing right now, it was my home for 9 years. I've lived over there before I moved to my new home at Mount Ararat. Then it was after that I started to look at the project to have something done with the property at 42 Mill Street. I tell you that so that you could understand that when my neighbors came and showed up at the planning board hearing at the site plan review and process, I listened to their concern. These were people that I know very, very personally, and I've listened and I heard their most important concern. And tonight, with the ward councillor and the planning board have all helped shape the way they have had the approval at the planning board. And we hope we will receive the same approval from this evening. When we first applied with you, we asked for 4 items of relief. We asked for the relief for the height requirement, as the building we originally proposed exceeded 35 feet. Each unit is now below or at the height requirement. We are now allowed under the ordinance to build 5 units based on the size of the lot. We asked to build 8, but we reduced the project to 7. We required front setback relief and side setback relief. This relief is necessary for 2 reasons. The lot slopes from the front to the back, and this forced us to plan our project more towards the front of the lot. Due to the lot irregularity, we then placed the building on it. We are within the side setbacks on both sides. Following site plan review, we modified our building dramatically, both in size and location, and to make certain that our neighbors are happy. We feel that the setback relief can be granted and not to offend the purpose of the zoning ordinance, as we have worked to locate the building on the lot to not impact our neighbor. We have made parking a priority here, and we have off-street parking that provide 20 total space for our 7 units.
How many?
20.
20.
Yes, sir. There is a minor issue with some of the off-street, with some of the parking. as they are close to the building and the side lot line. But again, we have worked with our neighbors to balance the importance of the off-street parking. With that impact that the parking can be caused to come up with an acceptable solution. Before you tonight, it's a different plan than the one that we first filed. But it is different because we have worked hard with the planning board under site plan review to come up with the required less relief from the zoning board. And we look forward to your review tonight. And as we are ready and eager to start this project, and I thank you.
Can you tell us about the buildings? What's on them? What you're putting on? Someone else gonna speak here?
My name is Brian Salute, I'm the architect for the project. My office is around Wayman, Mass.
What's the address, please? Your address.
15 Newbury Avenue, shown in the drawings. So we're planning on demolishing the existing building on the property to make way for 4 newly constructed townhome-style buildings that are going to vary in height from 2 to 3 stories. The buildings are each a little different in terms of the number of units. We have 2 single standalone residences out front along Mill Street, a duplex and a 3-unit building toward the back. 35 feet is the respected height of the project when it comes to the height of the buildings. And I've labeled this on all the architectural drawings. This dimension is taken from the grade to the peak. However, there is one exception. The 2 standalone residences out front that look like this, they're only 2 stories in height. So it's kind of blend in well with the few single-family homes that are there. The 42 Mill Street property is located around the midpoint on Mill Street, which connects to Washington Street on one end and Southern Artery on the opposite end. And it's only about 3/4 of a mile from where we are right now, in the MBTA next door. And so it's not a bad walking distance to the square. The 42 Mill Street neighborhood, however, is thickly settled and has a high density. Mill Street is predominantly made up of multi-families. There's only a few single-family residences left. As an example of the density, there's a 6-unit building right to the right side of our project. And then there's 2 duplexes and a 4-unit building directly across the street. And then diagonally across the street, we have this 9-unit townhome project that was recently built. Now these properties, they offer very little open space for the residents. If we were to take just the footprints of these 4 buildings that I'm showing here, they only add up to about 4,520 square feet. The lot is over 24,128 square feet. So this tells you just the building footprints are occupying about 19% of the overall lot. And you can see this illustrated in green on the site plan. The lot is narrow but elongated, and it's a little challenging with the grade. The position of the buildings kind of favor the side yards. And this was done to allow for car passage in the middle and for cars to back out of the garages where you need 24 feet as a minimum. Even though the lot is narrow, it's elongated, and we've only developed really the front half portion of the property, leaving a lot of open green area toward the back. So this approach to redeveloping the property is more than reasonable by comparison to the number of buildings that I just pointed out here. Another thing worth noting is that this 9-unit project that was completed recently across the road, it's very tight to the sidewalk. and the street, and it's 3 stories in height. And it's basically, it appears to be out of scale, effectively walking along the sidewalk. Note that what we're proposing is 2 single-family residences along Mill Street. So, and they're set back about maybe 15 feet from the road. So these 2 buildings are more in scale with the few single families that are here. Now, as far as the construction of the new townhome buildings, the 4 buildings will have concrete slabs on grade, concrete foundation walls and footings. The overall superstructures will be wood framing for the exterior walls, floors, and roofs. The main carrying beams inside will most likely be steel or micro-amps. There'll be a 1-hour rated demise wall between the townhome units, and there'll be 2 means of egresses, one from the front and one from the rear of each unit. Sprinkler protection will be provided where needed. I say that only because the code, I think, has changed. As far as the layout of the units, the typical unit is around a little over 1,900 square feet. This figure includes the garage. The units were laid out in a typical townhouse fashion where you have the garage at the ground floor level, the livable areas on the second floor level, and at the third floor level you have the bedrooms. These are all 2-bedroom units. The unique thing about these units is that each bedroom has its own individual bath. So that's just a little description of the layouts. Now, as far as the appearance, seven units here will have a colonial appearance with gabled pitch roofs, double-hung windows, window bump outs, and a small portico over each front entry. The exterior materials recommended here is hardy plank clapboard with PVC white trim for easy maintenance. The exterior doors and garage doors will most likely be metal insulated types. The main roofs, dormers, and bump outs will all have asphalt shingles. So these materials I described are basically compatible with the other buildings in the neighborhood. So that basically describes the 4 new buildings we're proposing.
2 questions. What are you doing? I see like yellow, green, blue. Are these real or are they not real? You're going to have different color buildings there?
Yeah, we're gonna, most likely, I mean, I'll leave it up to Mr. Schulman
It's not
here.
going to be like, bright wild colors.
It'll likely be blue and gray, toned down colors.
Also, on the parking for the 2 units up front, are those stacked parking on the 2 houses?
There's no step on
So you got 2 cars here for the front, right? I'm seeing 2 parking spaces here. So is there 4 there or where?
it. Right here?
Yeah.
2.
There's parking in the back of the
There's a garage here underneath.
In the back. All right, see, that's not what's shown here. There's 2 cars between the houses.
No, this is, I'm showing an elevation along the front. As you're looking at the front on Mill Street, you have a drive in the middle,
Yeah?
so there's a car coming and going.
Oh, that's a space here. So you got 2 in each unit.
Yes.
2 there, 2 there. All right, and the extra parking, how many you have? 8? 6?
5, 6.
6 outside, so there's 2 in each for the front, correct? Those are designated for that building, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And the other ones have 2 each under. There's 14, you get 6 extra spaces somewhere here?
Yeah, they're all surface. 4
Yeah,
here.
are these gonna be, are they gonna be marked? Does, who gets those?
Those are guest
Is any
parking.
of them designated to each unit? So you have an extra parking space?
Yes, sir. Those 6 parking will be for guest parking.
Any guest?
Any guest. That
So
goes.
I got 3 guests, I take the parking for the night, that's it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to know if they were designated or not. Okay. First come, first served. All right. That's just the questions I had, the buildings around me, we put it down there. All right. Any questions?
I have none at this point.
On one of the drawings there, it looked like a detention basin at the back of the property.
Done it before.
Huh?
There's no detention base. This went through significant changes. Shall I do my spiel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Trying to make Red Sox first pitch.
There you go.
Jim Burke with the Selberg Sala here, offices here in Quincy. We did this design way back in April with 2 buildings, 8 units, with a surface detention basin in the back. Went through the whole summer of working with the neighbors and the planning board, et cetera, and we came up with this particular design. We've done soils, the soils up close to the road, are sandy gravel, down lower, not so much. So it was actually a nice plan to kind of pull everything back up. You'll see the blue square right there. That is it's 9 4-foot diameter leach pits that kind of point loaded is supposed to spread that out. There is an overflow out of that system, goes underneath the retaining wall, and connects to the drain line that runs along the westerly property line in the rear. The sewer, that we're doing a sewer collection, that also connects to the same one. We're going to be using the same existing sewer service that is connected to that sewer now. We talked to the sewer department about that, and they're happy about that, so we won't be cutting the sewer pipe again. Bringing in fire pipe for the 2 multi-unit buildings. We've gone through peer review as well as both of the city and the planning board peer review as well, and come up with all the answers for them. Everything specific, there's, it's a fill site. There's a retaining wall that's 7 feet tall in the back, just to lessen that grade. I'd say that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not this time.
Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? Anyone speak in favor? First call, second call. Third call. Call upon the hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW that's been read in.
We have received the submittal, we have reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. Drainage, 1, submit a stormwater report with the 10 stormwater checklist and the supporting calculations and documentation. A pre-development watershed plan and a post-development watershed plan should be included in the report. The plans should indicate whether there are areas outside the limits of the property draining to the site, and identify off-site areas draining to the site to establish locations and potential quantity of off-site drainage flow that would need to be collected on or site graded, provided to manage the additional flows on the site. Number 2, submit a calculation to show how the proposed infiltration structures have been sized to infiltrate the required recharge volume and that it would drain in 72 hours. 3, is there any soil test at the proposed locations for the drainage structures to determine soil properties and level of water table? 4, the maintenance plan for the drainage system shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. 5, apply for a stormwater connection permit from the Department of Public Works before construction. 6, the entire stormwater system shall be cleaned and flushed prior to the final acceptance. 7, the existing drains and manholes from Pond Street to Washington Street should be inspected with television and tested for integrity pre- and post-development. Water. 1, perform water flow test for the city's water department. 2, install a gate valve and box in the sidewalk or driveway entrance. Sewer. 1, connect the existing sewer mains and manholes from Pond Street to Washington Street should be inspected with television and tested for integrity pre- and post-development. Number 2, all abandoned structures should be removed or filled with dense graded stone. Number 3, we require a drop manhole with internal sandy mold to handle this significant change of elevation for proposed sewer service. And that's not all. In general, we have 1, we require the existing sidewalks at the frontage to be reconstructed instead of individual patchwork utility trenches and driveway entrances. In addition, the curb should also be reset or replaced prior to the construction of the sidewalk. 2, install stone or concrete survey monuments to delineate the public right-of-way. The monuments shall be set by a professional land surveyor. The monument plan should be signed by a licensed land surveyor and submitted to our office for record. 3, provide dimensions and grades for all paving and driveway entrances. 4, is there a curb or berm around the pavement area? Question. 5, all proposed buildings should have house numbers assigned by the engineering department of, the engineering division of the DPW before any building permit can be issued. 6, submit the AutoCAD file for project before applying for building permit. The file should be in the Mass State Plan coordinated system, and preferably in the Quincy standard data layers. 7, designate snow storage area on the plan. 8, provide a landscape plan for review. And number 9, though, it says 8, upon completion of the project, as-built plan showing all utilities, building footprints, finishing grades, reference bounds, and benchmarks, defining the total site, facilities, and right-of-ways need to be submitted along with an AutoCAD file. The as-built plan shall be in the Mass State Plan coordinate system and the Quincy standard data layers. The plan should be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or professional engineer. The developer and/or the contractor shall contact the design engineer prior to the installation of foundations and utilities to allow for the proper inspection and data collection for the as-built plans. We will not accept any data on the as-built plans not collected by the design engineer.
I have another one here, but this was July, this is October's, and a lot of it's pretty much the same, but they added more stuff in this one than they did this one, which I don't understand. This has more than this, same stuff as in it, but I'll incorporate both of them.
Either one of them are ever because it was continued.
Oh, all right, yeah. I hate to say it, we go through that one too, so we incorporate both letters. It's two different letters, so. I just want them.
42 Mill Street, case number Z18-47. We received and reviewed the submittal date dated September 11, 2018 for the above referenced project, and our comments as follows. Drainage. The maintenance plan for the drainage system shall be recorded in the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. Apply for a stormwater connection permit from the Department of Public Works before construction. The entire stormwater system shall be cleaned and flushed prior to the final acceptance. 4, the existing drains and manholes from Pond Street to Washington Street should be inspected with television and tested for integrity pre- and post-development. 5, the elevation data on the detailed sheet for the infiltration systems are incorrect. 6, the minimum TC used on the HydroCAD should be 6 minutes. Water, perform water flow test with the city's water department. 2, install a gate valve and box on the sidewalk and the driveway entrance. And sewer, the existing sewer mains and manholes from Pond Street to Washington Street should be inspected with television and tested for integrity pre- and post-development. 2, we require drop manhole and an internal sanding bowl to collect the significant change of elevation for the proposed sewer service. 3, the entire sewer system shall be cleaned and flushed prior to the final acceptance. General, we require that the existing sidewalk at the frontage be reconstructed instead of individual patchwork for the utility trenches and driveway entrances. In addition, the curb should also be reset or replaced prior to the construction of the new sidewalk. 2, install stone or concrete survey monuments to delineate the public right-of-way. The monument shall be set by a professional land surveyor. 3, is there a curb or berm around the pavement area? 4, all proposed buildings should have house numbers assigned by the engineering division, DPW, before a building permit can be issued. 5, the proposed retaining wall shall be designed for hydrostatic pressure and fault protection should be installed. Fall facility protection should be installed. 6, submit the AutoCAD file for the project before applying for the building permit. The file should be in the Mass State Plane coordinated systems and preferably in Quincy standard data layers. Upon completion of the project as-built plan showing all utilities, building footprints, finished grade, reference bounds, benchmark, defining the total site, facilities and right-of-ways need to be submitted along with the AutoCAD file. An as-built plan shall be in the Mass State Plane coordinated system and Quincy standard data layers. The plan should be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor and engineer.
Thank you. Before I go on to the next part, what happened on Mill Street and the other jobs was a nightmare in the neighborhood. I just want to make sure that we have a construction plan with Mr. Duca and approved by Mr. Duca if this does get approved. So there'll be postings and who to call if anyone's parking in the wrong place and all that, because they can't deal with that again. it dealt with it once, you know, and it was. I know our council got many calls, Mr. Duca got many calls, and it's just something that has to be done, because the last job, people just parked where they wanted to, could care less, treated the neighbors nasty, it was just a nasty what happened, so. That's something I just, we gotta see. Also, I'll be back at the end. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Opposed or undecided, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'll make this quick.
You get the floor, brother.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies. I live at 21 Mill Street, and you answered 90% of my questions already. I live with a nightmare,
Yep,
and I can't deal with another nightmare.
Yeah.
Not after back to back.
shouldn't happen.
Right now, as it stands, Mill Street looks like the Baja.
Mhm.
You know what I mean, with so many built outs and bang outs in the street and everything, it's destroying the neighborhood. You know, I wish them the best of luck, but I don't, it's just too soon. You know what I mean? We're still getting over the heartache of everything else that just happened. And now we gotta go through it another 2 years. You know, if he waited 3 or 4 years, I might consider it, you know, approve it. But we're back to back here. He just put his stone up saying 26 Mill Street. This guy wants to start tearing the house down right down the street. So I just think it's too soon. Thank you.
Who's your name?
Kevin McDonald?
From the okay,
Yep.
thank you. Is there anyone else opposed or undecided? Council? Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry. John Rutherford, 62 Bramwell Road. 3 things I'm against this project, okay? One, the density. There's a little bit less than 24,000 square feet on this property, so the zoning allows for maximum 5 dwelling units, so letting them have 7 is above the zoning variances, so I'm against that. 2, the impervious land, he talked about 4,000 square feet of the square foot of the building, but there's also a lot of tar that is there to make up the driveway. So the impervious land is increasing by about like 350% on what is originally there than what was there before. So it's a wet area, that's going to be a hardship to the neighbors. I don't find that being a hardship to them. And third is the setbacks on the left and setbacks on the right. By rule, they're supposed to be 25 feet, and I think the reason is they're 25 feet. I think it's horrible that there might be back hedges or stuff on the back of the houses that are within 10, 12, maybe even 6 feet by the time they're out there. So for those 3 reasons, I feel that this application should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Council?
Dave McCarthy, 48 Whitney Road, Ward 1 Councilor. First of all, I echo the chairman's comments about the 27 Mill Street area that was going on for the last couple of years and was not good for the neighborhood. That was the first thing that came up in a community meeting that we had when these gentlemen sitting behind me came up with 42 Mill. The neighbors were very, I think we talked more about 27 Mill than we did 42 Mill. But we had the neighbors in on a community meeting. I know these guys have gone twice to planning, and I think we all understood after the first planning meeting that the footprint had to be reduced a little bit. I love the thought of the front 2 units being 2 stories. I know that the drainage was the other issue. It's a unique lot which goes downhill towards Pond Street. And I know that what they're putting in place now with the city should do the trick in regards to drainage, but we're going to keep an eye on it too and make sure that works the right way, and we'll come back and fix it. On another note, I also echo the sentiments of Mr. McDonald, talking about Mill Street itself. It's had a lot of work, like it's been in a fight the past couple of years, and it's going to have some more work. So I think Mr. Schumann's and his team totally understand what's being said here tonight about making sure that the neighborhood's protected. And I'm going to work a little more with TPAL, Traffic and Parking, Chris Cassani, in regards to the proper signage on the street. to make sure if we have to go with cars just on one side of the street and no parking on the other, we're gonna take a look at it and then have to take a thorough look at that, because it is a cut through off of Washington down to the CBS. So I'm supporting the job. I think they did the right thing in making some moves, reducing that footprint and especially that drainage in regards to the folks also down at the bottom of Pond Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Is there anyone else? Second call, third calls? Call that part of the hearing closed. It's a nice project. We're gonna work out the details, I believe, on construction. And Mr. Duper, if you would, take that for this board to make sure that we don't have nothing like we had before. You guys, I'm telling you now, it can't happen. If you want to do any more work in the city, it can't happen, really. One phone call should clean up anything. It shouldn't even be a phone call, because we all know what's been going on up there. These people are trying to live. I know you're trying to build stuff and make a few bucks. We all are. You're hiring people, you're doing the right thing, but the projects are nice, but you gotta take care of the neighborhood. You just can't go in there. I'll let you speak in a minute. You just can't go in there. And whoever you have working for you, if they don't want to park in the right place, just fire them. Get another guy in there, because the neighborhood's done. They're done. They're just done with it. You want to say something about it?
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I will make sure that my name will be with the board, that any complaint will be directed right away to me. And any issue that ever arises, I will make sure that it's taken care of immediately. And that will not happen, and I will assure you that.
A permit's not going to be issued until you and Mr. Duca sit down and come up with a construction plan.
Sure.
That's going to be in with this. Okay, Mr. Duca, so just make sure this is done right, if it passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Those are my 2 words. Anything?
Well, I just think that Mill Street has been through the mill the last couple of years. Has a lot of changes in the last 5 years. So my first inclination was that I didn't like this project because of that. But on the other hand, we have different, we have a lower project, we have a less dense project. The water is probably better off after they're done with it, and it's now drainage issues. I'll be very important.
How likely?
They've gone the extra mile, had the meetings, made the changes, and you can't hold these gentlemen to the sins of others. So I'm going to take the developer at his word that he will do the right thing, and Mr. Kimball will be there with the hammer to make sure. So I'm in favor.
In favor. Motion,
Mr. Chairman, in matter number Z18-47, Schuman's Mill Street LLC for a special permit variance to demolish an existing structure and elect seven townhouses, residents, on the premises number 42 of Mill Street. I make a motion to grant the variance and special permit.
Subject.
with the, subject to Mr. Duca's construction plan in place before permits given. Second?
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Take 2 minutes. We clean up. Under old business, case number Z1860, Packer Lane Townhouse Group LLC. Raymond Chan trustee for a variance to remove the existing structure and construct 5 new townhouse-style residential buildings on the premises of 53 Packers Lane. Is the applicant and representative here? Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Edward Fleming. I'm here on behalf of Packard Lane Townhouse Group LLC, which is the party that has the property presently under agreement with the owners of the site. As you indicated, the site's located at 53 Packard's Lane, which is at the dead end of Packard's Lane, actually right before the end of the area where the city is going to utilize the former High Point development site as a dog park, I think, that they're looking to build. It abuts, so it essentially abuts a wooded lot at the top of the street. It's a 22,506 square foot parcel of land, and it's presently improved by a single-family house on the site, although the site is zoned Residence B. And there's been some development on the street that we'll talk about in a moment, where a former development was built across the street.
This is a very unusually shaped parcel of land with some very difficult topography and soil conditions, and hence that drives the request for relief that we're asking for tonight. This proposal has also been before the planning board. As is typically the case, the planning board refers this all to all the city departments, and the city departments review the matter to ensure full compliance with the site plan review requirements. This was reviewed by both the traffic and the health department and the DPW department to ensure that the drainage was adequately prepared and worked. And this also underwent the peer review analysis, and a peer review engineer spoke to the planning board at that time, prepared reports which were responded to by the applicant with amendments of the drainage plans, and the peer review signed off on this. And then the planning board just recently the planning department made a recommendation for approval to the planning board, and the planning board has voted to approve this matter for site plan review. The proposal that's before you tonight, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, is a 5-unit townhouse-style development. The plan is to remove the single-family house, construct 5 townhouse-style units, 3 stories in height, with garages on the ground level that will provide for parking for 1 vehicle and a secondary vehicle in the driveway behind the garage. There will be an additional 5 spaces located on the site for a total of 15 parking spaces for the 5 residential units. As I indicated, that these will be 3 stories in height. There will be living area above the garage, a standard living family room, kitchen, half bathroom, with a master suite and 2 additional bedrooms on the second level with bathrooms. As I indicated, there's 15 parking spaces. 5 of those spaces will be assigned to guest parking spaces, similar to the last development that you heard, where those guest parking spaces will be made available to all the guests of the unit owners. The proposal also includes a professional landscaping plan. That landscaping plan was provided to the planning board as part of the planning board submittal and site plan review. It was reviewed by the peer review engineer, and it was found to be adequate to provide appropriate landscaping for the site. But this landscaping plan went through a couple of different changes during the discussions with the neighborhood and hearings before the boards. And one of the things that was done in the landscaping plan is additional dense landscaping was provided along the abutting neighbor's property and the parking or the driveway area in this area where Mr. Coughlin owns a home next door. That additional evergreen landscaping was purposely provided along with fencing along that line to provide for a buffer and privacy for Mr. Coughlin in his home next door. So that was added to the site. In addition to that, as you can see, there's significant green space in the remaining area of the land. The site drops off pretty dramatically as you approach the rear of the site as it drops down. And there's significant mature growth all in the back of the site that will not be interfered with or disturbed at all, as well as significant mature growth along the top of the site as well. As I indicated, the dead-end road actually goes into the city-owned land where the city intends a dog park. So there's significant mature growth and trees in that location. So we've added to that landscaping that exists at that site. Right now, the single-family house takes up a good portion of this site, and then the remaining area is cleared out because there's a pool in the back of the site. So this area of the site right now, existing conditions, is cleared. So we're not clearing really any additional land in that area. We are clearing out some area of scrub brush in this area, but we're maintaining as much of the mature growth as we possibly can. The most important aspect of this proposal which is different than any other proposal that this board hears, is we're not requesting any density relief. This project, as a 22,506 square foot parcel, allows 5 units by right. We're providing over 4,500 square feet of land area per dwelling unit as is required under the zoning ordinance. So we're not requesting any density relief. We're not asking for any relief from the minimum lot size requirements of the ordinance either. So this is different than the earlier proposal that you just heard on Mill Street, from the project on 27 Mill Street, which went before the board a number of years ago, projects on Garfield Street that were approved by this board, and pretty much every other project that's been before the city, where density relief has been requested. In this particular case, this is a by right development, in that 5 units is allowed by right. Because of the difficult site conditions, you can see the shape of the site. The site is shaped like this. And as I indicated, the site drops off, the topography drops off dramatically in the rear of the site. What that does is it requires that the building be brought forward. So in order to build this building, it required that the building be shifted forward. In addition to that, there was significant considerations given to the fact that the closest abutting neighbor was the Coughlin residence. So when the building was designed, it was designed to the left of the site, and therefore moved up the hill away from the Coughlin residence. And what that did is it created a setback, the need for a setback relief here on the frontage, and a setback here on the side. But that setback, as required by the ordinance, is 25 feet. We're only seeking, in this case, we're seeking a front setback of 21.46. The application that was filed before was done based on the initial plans that were proposed, and also done on the initial survey. When Packard's Lane was looked at more carefully, it was determined that Packard's Lane was not 40-foot width in this area where it dead ends the site, and therefore it provided additional frontage. We are seeking relief, so it didn't change the relief that we were requesting. In addition to that, the left side, again, was looked at again, and now we're requiring a left side setback of 20.46. And again, there's relief needed, but it's only 5 feet of variance requested. And we're also seeking relief from the FAR, which is, in this case, the requirement is 0.4. We're asking for a 0.53 FAR and 40 feet in height as opposed to the 35 feet. The reason for that height request, again, is that we're moving the building away from the Coughlin residence and up the hill. And what it does is, because the height is measured from the average grade of the site, it causes this side of the building to measure at a greater number. So when measuring the average grade around the building, it causes the height to be above the average grade or the average height of 40 feet. Again, we believe, and this is again another kind of I think interesting aspect of this proposal. There are true hardships related to the soil conditions, the shape of the site, and the topography here. We have true hardships here that are causing the variances that we're seeking tonight. As I indicated before, this has undergone significant review. We didn't have the opportunity to have a neighborhood meeting, unfortunately, because when we reached out to the councilor, he didn't believe that a project of this magnitude, because we had a by right 5-unit development, that it necessitated a neighborhood meeting. So we didn't have the fortunate opportunity to share this whole proposal with the neighbors. We have, however, had a couple of meetings at the planning board where the neighbors have had an opportunity to express their concerns. After the initial meeting, there were significant changes made to the drainage plan, because there were significant questions and comments about drainage from the site, because this is at the top of the hill. We also responded to the peer review comments about drainage and the DPW's comments about drainage. And we've made revisions to the plans in accordance with their comments. And both the DPW department and the peer review engineer have commented on this, indicating that we had satisfied all of the comments and concerns that they had raised. The Coughlins and other neighbors have indicated there's some concern about the adequacy of the roadway. And one of the comments that came out about at the meeting at the planning board was the ability for the fire truck to get access to the site. And they also commented on the need for a traffic report. Mr. Gillen was retained by the professional team. He conducted a full traffic study. He presented that traffic study to the peer review and the city. And both the city and the peer review engineer commented on that traffic report and found it to be adequate. and found that the site would adequately serve a 5-unit development. In addition to that, I reached out myself to Deputy Joe Jackson, who's the acting chief. We presented the traffic report to him. That traffic report also did what they call a template. And that template was modified using the largest fire truck that the city of Quincy uses. And the chief determined that the truck would be able to get adequate and safe access to the site. Therefore, to be able to protect this property from any fire hazards. But in addition to that, this building will be sprinkled. So it will be a very safe building for firefighting and for the residents that will live there. So we think that this is a great proposal, and I think that, as I indicated, it's very different than the proposals that are usually presented to you, where we're not asking for any density relief, not asking for any more units than we otherwise would be entitled. What we're seeking, as I said to you before, is FAR relief, height relief, and setback relief due to the shape, the soil conditions, and the topography of the site. So I have two professionals with me tonight, Jerry Liu, who's the architect, who can walk through the architectural plans for you really quickly, and Chi Mann, the engineer from Hardy Mann Engineering, who can talk about the drainage if you have any questions about the drainage. So, Jerry, do you want to take, or somebody want to take a second to kind of walk through? And the important thing too, Mr. Chairman, because I know you raise this question often, is the products that will be utilized in this building. This hardy plank is being utilized in the building. There's a stone finish as well. It'll be a very attractive building. No vinyl siding used. We think it's going to be a complement to the neighborhood. I believe that the townhouse development across the street is vinyl siding. So I think that this will be a more nicely designed project than that project even is which is already existing in the neighborhood. So Jerry, do you want to just kind of walk through this?
When you see on the joint, this is actually this elevation, looking at the building front. We have 5 units and stepping down because of the topography. Also, when you look at the front street, right, we also provide some kind of like entrance light at the front, so it doesn't look like we are every entrance on the road side, on the driveway side. And all the material is, as Edward mentioned, we do have hardy plank, and we also have a face stone barrier at the bottom. We use all the PVC for the trimming, so it's for easier maintenance. And we also use composite decking, so everything will be very, very good for this kind of design. When actually looking at the site, some people worry about, some neighbors worry about the wheel, the building look huge at the site, but actually I have put some kind of like site section study, like this is the direct neighbor next to the property, and this is the further down neighbor. Right? At the adjacent neighbor, when I put a figure over here, and actually we have a fence right in between the property line, and we have a lot of evergreen tree over here. So actually the neighbor will block out a lot of view of this house. And then the further down neighbor, they actually, if you see the sight line, I have dotted some sight lines. If they are at the first level or the ground level, they won't see much on the building. Only when they are at the second level over here, they only see part of the roof line over here. Because the angle is tilting, actually they seeing the depth of the roof is like something like that. So we have every existing green tree, we are knocking it down, and we grow a lot of tall evergreen tree over here. This tree will go out about 30 feet high when they are mature, so I think it will be pretty good consideration with the neighbor. And the beginning of the driveway, we plan on the right side, and at the opposite side of we have another condominium over here. It's a 5-unit condominium. The driveway is about face to face. So when we plan like that, we provide a lot of light turning area for the car, on the truck, and the dumpster or the fire engine come over, they can easily turn and make a U-turn over here. We have inside space for the trash barrel storage. Only on-site. Yeah, the trash collecting, right? The trash collecting only stay here for about 24 hours. They have to move it back to the building.
So what we did is, rather than having a dumpster, the goal was to provide for trash barrels for each of the units, and then direct them that they should leave the trash, they should bring the trash out before their unit and can be picked up by the private trash service, and then it would have to be returned to inside the garage within 24 hours. The goal being is not having that trash sitting out there for a long period of time.
We have one car parking garage, and we also have some storage space at the back of the plant level.
Yeah, what? I didn't hear that.
Storage spaces at the back of the garage.
Storage?
Yes.
That's all right. I think we
Home run.
That's fine, right? Yeah.
So if there's any additional questions, Chi is also here to talk about the engineering. But the engineering was reviewed by the peer review engineer and the DPW, as I indicated. But if there's any questions about the drainage, Chi can certainly respond.
Stacked parking in it, correct?
So there's one space within the drive, within the garage, one space behind, but then there's 5 additional parking spaces within the site.
So there's two underneath or one underneath?
One underneath, one in the garage.
One in the garage.
For each unit, right? And then there's a driveway that actually services that.
That area, so they get a spot there.
Yeah.
And I think it's a nice project, but it would look so much better before. I just think it's so dense. That's just so dense. Up in that end of that lot, I just, man, I'm having a hard time. Really.
But again, no density relief, Mr. Chairman.
It's not the density, it's the density of the whole street. It's like, there is so much on that street. And how much can one street handle is my thought. It's like, you know? It's
And that's why-
it's a nice looking project, but I do. I just think it's just over.
And that's why we really tried to pay particular attention. That's why we tried to pay particular attention to having a traffic engineer and the fire department review this. And certainly, I understand that, I drove that.
40 feet in the air too. At the height, you're up 40 feet.
But that's only.
So it looks like this monstrosity is the top. That's all I'm thinking. It's like, I think we can come up with a better plan up there than that.
It's only because of the topography, though.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. I get it. I do. I do get it. I just think it's like, I'm trying to figure out, I know what you're looking for, and I feel for it, I really do. But 40 feet in the air at the top of the hill, it's like looking at this monster at the end. And that's all I'm trying to figure out, is like, why did it have to be? Why couldn't you build something else that's lower, because it's so high up there? Because when you're coming up, then you got 40 feet on top of that. It's like, it's just.
I think because a lot of the site is not usable, I think because a lot of the site is not usable, it was really important to get the cars underneath the condition.
And I get it.
And hence, and if we created a bigger site, meaning 2 cars under the site, it would even be a longer building. So it was they tried to compact the site, and they also tried to move it away from Mr. Coughlin's house, because he is the closest abutting neighbor.
I don't even know where it is.
If they left it here, and it's a little flatter in this area, it would be very close proximity to his house, and that's why we moved it. But that really drives the measurement of the height, because you can see it on the plan.
No, I know.
You know, as it steps up.
It's like something at the top of that hill should be like 2 stories, so it kind of like, don't look like this monstrosity of a thing. I don't know what you could build up there now. I don't have any questions. I just, to me, it's like, it's just too big. It's like this 40-foot building. You'll get your chance.
Hold on one second.
Any questions?
I just have, I guess, a statement. I literally own that house next door, and it snowed a lot, and the trucks could not get up. The garbage trucks could not get up there. They had to bring the garbage down the street. which was pretty inconvenient. I know that was this winter, we had all the snow, but I think half those houses should be, I would never have let the other 5 houses, townhouses go there. We have other projects that we passed on the street that we said no to. That's all. It's just a statement, more of a statement than a comment. Okay.
My question is about storage of the snow. Is there a place at the arena that?
Yeah.
Significant area.
So let's say maybe over here.
We need, it's on the show public, not when the public speaks, you can see.
Thank you.
I was a little concerned about the green space. It appears that, looking at the paperwork, that there's a lot of it, but most of that green space is unusable.
Right.
It goes down on one side and really steep on the other, so the available green space, although looking at the square footage says there's a lot, but usable, very, very little.
Well, it's open space in accordance with the ordinance. It's, as it's not developed. It's not developed, it stays in natural state. It stays in its natural state. But yeah, there's not usable space as far as at recreational area for the residents.
Depends what your recreation is, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
So, Francis, no question? Okay then. Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? Anyone want to speak in favor, first call? You want to speak in favor?
Yes,
Come up, name and address, please. Not until you get up here.
22 Delmar.
Wait a minute. Wait till you get up here. Name and address, please.
Wyman Chang, 22 Delmar Ave, in Framingham.
Framingham?
Yes.
Okay. You have the floor.
I'm the owner of the property.
Yeah?
Of course, I'm biased.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been supervised about this design and given advice and try to make the best of the project as possible. And talk about the roof line, and we measured, because the Quincy zoning is measured from the top of the ridge. And the building is set way up high, and if you are on the roadway or down below or on the street, you will not see the back of the ridge at all. And also, if I telling the design team, if there's objection about the height, we can go to the flat roof. You will get rid of all the ridge. And maybe there's a policy or in favor of the to have a slope roof because of snow and so on. And maybe we can get a relief on that excessive height, because that height on the street you will not be able to see that ridge at all.
Are you going to put in fully grown trees tomorrow morning?
No, not fully grown tree.
It can take 5-10 years for those to grow in, correct?
Yeah, to take at least 10 years.
All right, so you get 10 years.
Yeah, the landscape shows that there are a lot of flowering trees and dogwood and so on. And at one time, proposed to have some fruit trees. The landscape architect and saying that you would drop a lot of fruit and would be desirable. But I disagree. I'm an architect and he is landscape. And I guess his opinion may be prevailing, but anyway. In terms of siting, we moved the building set way back so they're away from the neighbors, and we put the access road and parking downhill away from the butter, so that you'll be better this way. And if it cannot have that relief, and then we have to move the building forward, and we can do it, but it will be not desirable.
So for my architecture, and I have been doing commercials. Residential is not my professional, but I'm doing a lot of high-rise and medical stuff. And this is a lot of consulting for houses. A friend of mine, things like that. And this is the development. So I will be consulting to try to give a best opinion and best advice to that. So this is all I have to say. But also, this is my project in a way, so I try to have the best outcome. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in favor? Anyone else in favor? Second call, third call. Call up out of the hearing closed. You want to hear from the DPW September 19th. 53 Packet Lane, we reviewed the project from the planning board and all our comments provided have been addressed properly. Therefore, we do not have any other comments for the zoning board of appeals. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Opposed or undecided? Step forward, state your name and address for the record, please. If anyone else wants to speak, you can come right up and stand in line, get ready.
My name is Matt Kaufman. I am the owner of 47 Packers Lane next door. I'd also like to state for the record, I am a licensed civil engineer here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In respect to some of the statements that have been made, particularly with respect to the traffic report, in reviewing that traffic report, I had a few additional comments in addition to the VSC group that weren't addressed, in my opinion, to a proper perspective. In one situation, a line of sight was drawn actually right across the front of my property where my car would be parked, and actually at a corner of my front porch. In addition to that, I had some questions about his analysis of recent accidents. So I had many questions that weren't addressed on the traffic report, just to start out. There's several inconsistencies and inadequacies actually in this presentation tonight. One of them being that the height they're requesting is 40 feet. If you actually look at the zoning ordinance, it's of the existing average ground condition. Now, the existing average ground condition has a variation of about 10 feet. So when you actually take that into account, mounting that site, let's say they level it off, you have 5 feet already before you even get into the proposed 9-foot stories plus a 7-pitch roof. So 40 feet at anything is a misrepresentation on the low end. To say that it doesn't require dimensional density requirements, it may not due to the size of the lot. However, in my opinion, bulk, which is what is referred to under FAR, is dimensional density. This is a very dense bulk proposal in the sense that you have, I believe, somewhere in the order of 12,000 square feet of floor area to 22,000 square feet over 0.5. For the open space, it does, by zoning ordinance, need to be usable open space, usable green space, so tarmac wouldn't, pavement wouldn't count. The fact that they have to have the back area fenced off by requirement, so that nobody falls down the 11-foot embankment, inherently makes that unusable open space. And also, not to point out that any area along the perimeter of the property would have to be at least 5 feet in dimension to be considered. One of the things that was also mentioned, I don't know that they would have the width to satisfy the 25-foot setback, and also to have the 24-foot turning radius that's required on the downhill end for 90-degree parking, which in addition to the 9-foot width of the lane and the 3-foot minimum setback off the property line. So they can say that they pushed it up to keep it away from me, but in reality, in order to get that parking, get the turning radius that they need, they would have to be uphill. As far as soil shape and topography, it is a difficult site, I understand that. As far as the soil goes, I've built behind my house, and yeah, I had to excavate it down, I had to do...
Get a permit? No.
Actually, I did. And it is, I think I was able to build a decent house, fully within the zoning requirements of the city of Quincy. With my height is 32 feet from the average ground condition. I didn't feel the need to go any higher because frankly, I feel for my neighbor Joe, that he doesn't need to be looking at a 40 or 50 foot tall building next to him. So I kept it under the height requirement, the minimum 13-foot setbacks on the side. Of course, on the other side, due to the property line, and it was a pre-existing non-conformance as it was. So, I think a reasonable proposal could be made here to build on the existing soil conditions and build on the existing site without necessarily needing all of the zoning relief that they're looking for. So to be brief, I guess, so we can all go watch the game. That's kind of my story, and I guess I'll stick to it.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Is there anyone else? Opposed or undecided? Second call?
Hi, I'm Michelle Auer, 35 Practice Lane.
Say that again? Name?
Michelle Auer.
Okay.
And I just wanted to kind of repeat a lot of the things that Matthew already pointed out, but the FAR is one of my main concerns. They're requesting 0.53. So that works out to a little over 12,000 square feet when as of right, they should be allowed to build 0.4, which would be about 9,000 square feet. So that right there is over 1 unit's worth of additional area for housing. So while they're within, as of right for the number of units, the bulk of the development is, as stated, is quite in excess. I'm still a little worried about the height as well, and I'm still worried about how the drainage systems are going to be maintained once the property is handed over to its owners, because it's underground system that has maintenance. And the traffic and safety on this very small street is so concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Opposed or undecided?
Hi, I'm opposed. My name is Joseph Zablocki. I live at 43 Package Lane. The Coughlins are not only the only abutters to this property. I am myself, and the Gilcoins are up back. So their drainage, first off, is their drainage proposal would be right abutting my backyard, and I'm afraid a lot of their the possibility of their drainage would be leaching right into my backyard. So, and as anybody knows, Package Lane and all, we've had tons of water problems since the onset of High Point.
Right.
So that's a big concern of mine, as well as they talk about how they were putting the nice facade on the front of the house. There's only one house that's going to see that. It's the other house across the street. The rest of us are going to see, I don't even know, the rest of us are going to see that, The lady that just spoke before me will see that, and that will be my view from my yard. But like you said, 40 feet high. They'll be looking down on me. I'll feel like a experiment. And my other concern is traffic. There's no other outlet for all this traffic that this project's going to create, because it is a dead-end street. And so, just to surmise my complaint here, they call it a lane for a reason, So that would be a big issue. And as I think you said, Mr. Chairman, the snow plows couldn't even get up the street. And I experienced that. They stopped right in front of my house. That's about as far as they got. And until they could get equipment up there later. So in an emergency, that would cut off half the street, including that 5-unit project across the street that's already existing. So the traffic's a big issue. And then when they did the construction, they're not gonna be able to get a low bed up that street. There's no way. And so the equipment would have to be walked up the street, going to every person that lives on that street and having to deal with it. Our street's already a mess from that last project. It's never been paved since, and there's all kinds of potholes, and it's a rough ride if you take a ride up and down that street. So, yeah, so that's another issue too. And so there would be problems with that. And, I still don't see that they'd be, I mean, there's been parking issues with Coughlin's project, never mind this type of project. So, sorry, didn't mean to put you under the bus. But, you know, so that's all I have to say. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.
Is there anyone else opposed or undecided?
Kevin, you go after me? John Rutherford, 62 Granville Road. Quickly, I just want to say, when I was looking at the pictures, the old house is like, kind of like right here, okay? And they have a driveway right in front. So this is all land where if it rains, the water can go down. So the soil, the shape, and the topography of this area right here is it slopes downward. So all this water, just like that Mill Street project, which is all going to go towards Pond Street, this is all going to go towards the person that happens to live in that house right there. So, I mean, that's something when you give a variance, if it causes harm to someone else, you're not supposed to be able to give the variance. And let's just say for some reason that you do give the variance, even though it is going to cause harm to someone else, okay? From what I've heard, the density of this project, Attorney Fleming said he wasn't looking for density relief. Well, he is. So obviously these are very big units, okay? So the square footage of each unit. So the square footage should be taken down so they honor that 0.4, and then the height would come down of the building too. Unfortunately, they went to planning, and planning approved 5 units. So you guys can't say you want 4 units because they already get approved for 5 units. So you either have to vote no or you vote yes. So if you vote no, you'll force them to come back with a smaller project. So I think it's pretty obvious that you'll vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Name
and address?
John Rutherford, 62 Granville Road.
62 what?
Is there anyone else opposed or undecided?
Grunwald.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to try to be like Sergeant Friday, just a fact. So I have a brief that I'm going to submit in lieu of spending an hour of your time. Suffice it to say, Mr. Chairman, you've heard the concerns that have been raised by the previous speakers with regard to the size and the density of this project, the traffic, the open space. I was up there saying yes when you said open space. Just one of the many issues here. It has to be usable open space.
Council, this is it? I thought you had like 80 pages.
No, it's only 14.
No.
But the man to your left will truly appreciate it because there is numerous sightings of case law which will support our position that you want. First of all, they are not entitled to a variance. There are 4 prongs within that statute that they must meet, and they must meet every single one of them. The conditions of the soil, the shape, the topography must be unique to this site, and if I challenge any of you to walk that street and tell me that there are not other parcels on that street that share those same conditions and therefore do not make this site unique from these others. If they fail on one test of this prong, they're out. And the trial court, the appeals court, and the SJC have made this clear, and when you read citations I have there, you will find that to be the case. I would also like to say to you with regard to the planning board, there was not a unanimous consent of that board. There were 2 members that were opposed to this project. One, unfortunately, Mr. Callahan, was not there to vote that evening, but I understand subsequently that had he been there, he would have supported Mr. Barry and Mr. Barry's attempt to reduce the size of this project, speaking to Mr. Rodefeld's concerns about what the planning board did. I understand that had both members made the motion, there was a 3rd member that would have supported that motion because there was concern. But They understood that because it's site plan review, they have only the ability to set conditions. And the condition that they wanted to set was to reduce the size of this project. Because I think there's some unanimous view, certainly I'm hearing some of it here tonight, that this project is just simply too large. I challenge any one of you to go up to the site, to stand on a property that's owned by my son jointly with ourselves, and to not imagine what a 104-foot long, 40-foot wide, 40-foot tall building will be. It'll be a wall of Trumpian proportions. And I think it's unfair that the nuisance, if you understand common law nuisance, is being brought to us. We were there before this was proposed. And you can't, under that principle, bring a nuisance to the parties that already are there previously in existence. And those nuisances are many-fold, and some of them have been mentioned tonight. If you review the document when you have an opportunity, you will see the myriad of concerns that we have. We ask you to consider our concerns and to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have another one of these?
I do, but it's all marked out. I can email it to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Email or scan it.
You can email it to the clerk.
will do.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call. Third call. Call up out of hearing closed. As I said before, it's just too big. You're looking at, it's at the top of the hill, it's 40 feet high, it's just too massive. It's too massive to double on you. You've got a piece of property, see what you can build there, but I'm gonna vote no. It's gotta come down. You're gonna make the project a little bigger.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also voting no because, as I said, my experience with that particular street, I think it'd be a nightmare, anything, and it has nothing to do with the neighbors. It really does. It has to do with, I've seen it in snow, I've seen it in ice, I've seen the garbage, I've seen utility people coming over there trying to fix things from the project, the Avalon project. It's not the right street.
So Brian?
I have similar feelings. I feel like you're trying to,
Whoa, everybody, please, we're talking here.
I feel like you're trying to fit a 12-foot
into a 10-foot hole, you know what I mean? And there's only, all of the neighbors that are affected by the project here apparently have the same feeling. If you can't satisfy the neighbors that are up there, that's difficult for me to accept. Because whatever outreach is required to meet with them and to have them satisfied, or at least to come to some sort of an arrangement, would suit me better than to sit here and say yes or no. If you can't talk to the neighbors and get them resolved, then. Okay.
Memo, statement, comments? Nothing?
No.
No.
I'm going to go with the less is more theory as well. First of all, I think I don't know why there was not a neighborhood meeting. This definitely needs a neighborhood discussion, but no, I'm not in favor of this.
Council?
Could you give us a minute to just talk about things? I'm sorry, I'm also co-owner of the property.
It doesn't matter, that part's over, man.
Okay.
Counselor?
He said he was.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I was asking my client
Yeah.
is whether or not they wanted to seek a continuance for the purposes of trying to modify the proposal to address the Coughlin's and the other neighbors' concerns, and obviously the board's concerns about the height and the size of the development, or withdraw this without prejudice and refile. And that's what I was trying to explain to them. So if I could have two minutes just to explain that to them, and then we'll.
You got it. You got it. Or we can vote. What that means, if he withdraws without prejudice, what that means, he has to come back with a completely different plan. It can't be the same plan.
Will he have to go to planning again?
Yeah.
You can't come in front of this board. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Can't come in front of here unless you have a completely different project. while we vote, you can't come back here for 2 years. Unless it's a completely different project, you come back 2 weeks with a different project.
You guys could actually vote to not allow the continuance. You could vote that down, and you could just close it down, even though you might ask.
That's what we do here.
Well, this proposal was denied one
Hey,
before.
no crosstalk.
The good thing is,
No crosstalk, John. John, there's a meeting going on, no crosstalk, come on.
Red Sox are ahead 2-0.
Oh, that's the important thing. My grandpa was
over 60 years old.
How's this ringing, Mr. Counselor?
Somebody gave the local lottery one time, somebody gave them
We're back on the record.
You back on record.
Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully ask for the opportunity to maybe continue the matter for maybe a month. Give us an opportunity to consider whether we can make modifications to address the concerns that were raised. And if the decision is made that we can't do so, then we can withdraw at that time. But I'd like to have an opportunity to continue the matter at this point in time.
I'll tell you, me personally, you can drop your roof, you can do what you want, that's not gonna change my mind.
Right.
Shrinking that project will change my mind.
Right.
So the way it is, if you're still gonna be looking at 5, I'd just say withdraw it, because you're gonna have a different project and we're gonna re-advertise it anyway as well. So I would just say, if you wanna withdraw it, because it ain't gonna work. My opinion, I think a couple other people here are feeling the density is too big. Not just the height, the whole thing. So
I understand that, and I'd like to really have that opportunity to discuss that with my clients in more detail, and whether or not there's ability to change this from a 5-unit to a 4-unit project, and obviously reduce the height of the project. That's something I want to be
And
able
if
to
you're
talk
gonna
about.
do that, you're gonna reapply anyway, instead of continuing to bring it, we're gonna have it re-advertised. So the neighborhood and the people in the, end up knowing anyway, so I
So
don't
that-
see any difference in the map.
Right, so the comment is then to withdraw, if we're gonna consider making some changes, they want to re-advertise this matter anyway. So we'll withdraw, ask for the opportunity to withdraw without prejudice, and then we can refile. We have to go back to the planning board and amend the decision anyway if we make a change here.
Well, if we make changes, we may not even need to apply for a variance, and then we don't have to go to the zoning.
Right, so might not, there's also.
There you go.
Well,
That's fine, if we may withdraw without prejudice.
Got a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, amendment of Z18-60 Packard Lane Townhouse Group LLC, Wyoming China trustee for a variance to remove the existing structure and construct a new 5-unit townhouse-style residence building on premises number 53 Packard Lane. I make a motion to withdraw the issue without prejudice.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to go and watch the Red Sox.
Second, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.